to consider is, will it grow in this environment? Is it the right tree for the right space? Is this the right climate for this tree? And then second is to make sure that this is the right tree for this space. Although it's the right climate and the right environment, what is this tree going to look like when it's mature? Right now it's this big, but in 10 years it could be this big, and this may not be the space that can hold that. So those are the very first things that you should be thinking about. Now that we're taking it from a pot and putting it into a plant, into the ground, what we want to do is we want to remove it from the pot, kind of break up the root ball, because as plants are grown, whether it's a nursery container or a pot that's been sitting on your back porch for a year, the roots start to engulf the entire space. And when you transition it from that pot to the ground, you want to allow those roots to spread out. So you want to take a knife and score all the roots and break up the root ball so those roots are nice and loose. And the other thing is, typically, and this happens a lot with nursery container plants, is they start off as a small tree and then it goes from this pot to this pot. So they just add more dirt and they just keep adding more dirt every time it goes to the bigger pot. By the time it gets ready to be sold and you take it home, there's this much extra soil that's on the top of the pot that you're paying for. So when you draw a tree, say it's on a hill, you draw the trunk of the tree and then it flares out and you got the grass and the little daisies that you put there. That little flare that you draw is an incredibly important part of the tree. That's called the basal flare. And what that's where the trunk kind of meets the root system. And that's where the tree exchanges a lot of gases. So if you think about, again, that pot that went from the tree that went from pot to pot to pot, and by the time you got it, there was extra soil on it, and then you bury it even more, the tree has a really hard time to breathe, and the longevity of that tree is diminished considerably. So you want to make sure that when you do plant it, that flare, you may have to remove some excess soil off the top of the root ball, but when you take that soil off, you want to expose that flare and plant that flare so that it's right at the soil surface or maybe even a little bit higher, but that needs to be exposed. And then water. Once the hole is dug, fill that hole with water. Make sure it's draining. No tree likes to be sitting in a puddle. They don't like it. I wouldn't either. So you want to make sure that planting hole drains pretty well. Then you can go ahead and you want to dig the hole a little bit wider. They say 1.5 times the width of the root ball, the container size. That's how wide it should be. You want to mix the native soil with a good soil amendment, because if you just put all good soil amendment in the planting hole, the roots and the tree are like, man, this is some really nice soil. And then it touches native soil. It's like, I don't really like that stuff. I just want to stay here. And now the tree becomes unstable. So by mixing the native soil in, what you're doing is you're introducing that native stuff, and the tree says, oh, okay, I get it. I'm supposed to go into that other stuff too. And we're encouraging roots to get outside of that planting hole and into the native soil to give it really good stability.